So I talked about the Democrat Party. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about the Republican Party. As you can see, I brought. I'm not by myself today. I have a friend with me. This is Maisie. She is my little dog, and she loves to go on trips or drives. So today she's going to be joining us. She's got a lot to say too, so I'm just going to let her speak her piece whenever she feels like it. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to talk about Republican Party today because I think it's only fair to talk about both parties. If you're going to criticize one, definitely you should be able to criticize the other. After all, I'm an American, not a political party. I live in America, I'm an American, and that's my affiliation. So, yeah, let's talk about the Republicans. Republicans, they have taken over the political establishment in the last 8 years, between Trump and then Biden and now Trump. And I gotta say, good for them, because why I say that, they've taken over, they put together a good message that was resonating with the majority of the Americans, voting age folks. It resonated with me. I live in California. California is a very complex political landscape, but it resonated with a lot of people. So I want to talk about some of the good before I talk about some of the bad. So what do the Republicans stand for? In my opinion, the Republicans stand for traditional values, the preservation of the way it used to be, or at least what I would like to hope is they would say, someone would say, the good things of the way it used to be. Not all things of the past were great and should be held on to with a death grip, but some things were. And I think the Republican Party stands for the group that focuses more on traditional values, whatever that may be, depending on where you're at in society. Traditional values for us right now, 2025, probably are something like between 1960 and maybe like 1990, where we had stronger families. We had more families in America. We had a stronger family nucleus, like more family cohesion. There was more community activities for families to participate in, even in the 90s. And so that's what I think, in some ways, the Republican Party stands for. Now, we all know that both parties, in order for a politician or an aspiring politician to get elected, he has to have two things. He has to have popularity, in the sense that his constituents like his message, and he has to have money, because he has to be able to finance his campaign, his or her campaign, whatever that looks like. You can't be at a 9-to-5 job when you're trying to run for some political position. You need to be out there speaking to the people every day. You need to be, hitting the pavement, on the phones, assembling a team. That's a full-time job. So you need money to do that. We all know that. Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. So you got to be popular and you got to have some money. So Maisie likes to do a little grooming every once in a while. And, she's my little girl, so I gotta let her. So yeah, you got to have money and you got to be popular. And that's half the problem, is that money can influence people's decision making So they could go into politics with the best intentions and end up coming out, a completely different person with completely different values and a completely different message, because they were bought, and they were basically bought. They were somebody traded capital to this person in exchange for financing their campaign, in exchange for an agreement on a particular position. Whatever that position may be, when the time comes, they got to answer the phone when the phone rings. And that's leverage. That's leverage. Somebody that contributes a lot of money to a campaign, or to a person, particularly, who was maybe running for an election. That person is then, it's, you don't want to believe it. You want to say, well, no, it's just a donation. That person's not beholden to the donator. Well, if they want to get another donation, if they want to make sure that's not the last donation, they might have to listen to what that donator has to say about a certain particular issue. But that's a tangent. I'm getting off the topic here. And the topic is the Republican Party and what they've been doing well, and why their message resonates with a lot of people. It has to do with traditional values. I know I've said that 4 or 5 times, but I guess I can describe that. There's been a decay in the family creation in America. And so family values are trying to return to a culture that allowed for more families to be created is what I think young people are voted for. A lot of their vote for Trump in 24 had to do with that. Young men in general, young men especially. I mean, there's tons of data, that backs that, and the reasons why they switched. Young men in general voted more Republican. And since Donald Trump's gotten in office, he's done some good things and some not good things, and it's led to so let's talk about those. So now I don't know every single thing that he's done good, and I don't know every single thing that people would say he's done bad. I can only talk about some things that I'm aware of. Forgive me, I haven't done a ton of research on every policy that Trump has done, put in place. But I will say that let's start with some of the ones that are probably, we can agree, are more commonly agreed with than others. Like, the obvious one is the border. Because of the economic situation, because jobs are paying so low, and because there's so little a number of jobs, truly there's not a lot of jobs out there. And I bet my town, it's extremely hard if you were to look for a job to find one. I would imagine this is the same experience in a lot of places, because the economy has been struggling since COVID. Companies have been closing down, and if they closed down during COVID, maybe they didn't come back. And with rising costs of everything, that means the costs of starting a business go up and have increased substantially. So it's expensive to start a business. job opportunity, because there's less jobs. And if you have an open border policy where you just allow anyone to come through, like the Biden administration did, and whether or not they allowed just anyone, I don't know for sure, but it seems like it, because I'm pretty sure the data will show that the number of immigrants were like at record highs during the Biden administration. And that was kind of like the dagger that was the nail in the coffin for the Democrats in a lot of ways with the working class. Was you claim to recognize, both parties recognize the economic hardships and the difficulties for the average American, yet you dilute the available working pool, which lowers the value of the working pool by having an open border policy. That's kind of unforgivable. It's kind of unforgivable when you really dig into it. So that's a big win for Trump. It's a big. I'm happy that he's done that. I think a lot of people are happy that he's done that, and I hope it continues, because look, man, we've got a lot of problems to fix, and the last thing we need right now is open borders and just unchecked immigrants coming from all directions. And I'm not anti-immigrant on its face. I'm pro immigrant doing things the right way, the way that we've set up as a country, or the way that we have the way we have decided to legally allow immigrants to come into this country. That's what I'm pro. So I think a lot of other people agree with that, and so that's a big win for the Republicans, is the border. It just is, because we don't know who's coming across the border, especially the southern border, with so many different countries in South America, and it's probably a lot easier to get, if you were a nefarious individual, if you wanted to come to our country and cause harm, like a terrorist, it's probably pretty easy to navigate your way through South America versus like Canada, for example. I don't know, I could be wrong. But either direction, all directions. I'm not saying one direction we need to be tough on and the other one we don't. It's all directions. We need tough borders, period. Because right now is not a time of economic prosperity for the average American. It's an economic prosperity boom for just a small percentage of Americans. So we've got to fix that. We know we have to fix that. We've lost our family dynamic. Our family creation is in the toilet, as evident by the data. This is where the Republican Party is more popular. This is where they're much more popular. The Democrats, I haven't seen or heard any Democrats talking about this issue, the housing crisis, like really seriously talking about it in the way that, like, Republican pundits, politicians, and commentators talk about it. Tucker Carlson, more specifically, just had a really great speech about it, about the plight of young adults, being able to finance, being able to qualify for the American dream. Qualifying for the American dream is out of reach, and something has to give. Something has to change. If we're not going to create an environment where we have leverage over corporations, like our government, if we're not going to have leverage over our corporations and force them to raise wages to meet the inflation, and to also make up for the lost wages of the last 3 decades, so the average job can qualify for the average house. If we don't have the leverage to do that, they won't do it. Corporations won't do it. That's how they act. They act in their own interest. And the sooner we understand that, we all understand that, but the government still doesn't play hardball with corporations in the way that it needs to right now to get the American back on track. So if we don't do that, they won't do it. So closing the borders is huge, because diluting the employee pool means that employees are worth less. So more employees worth less employees worth more. So right now that's a win-win. The anti-DEI stuff is a win-win primarily for young men, disenfranchised young men who have been told by the Democratic Party for the last 4 decades, that they're the problem, they're toxic, they need to let women do whatever they want, they need to stop mansplaining, and that's led to where we are now as far as like the dynamic between men and women. So the Democratic Party has said, we're going to focus on women's issues, women's rights, because women don't have rights these days. I think they have every right, in fact, so mission accomplished. But they don't talk about men, and that's a big problem. So Republicans are. So if you talk about the interests of your constituency, then the constituency will vote for you. Makes perfect sense. This is politics 101. Democrats lost the plot, so Republicans picked up the plot, and subsequently they picked up the votes. DEI and being in, and so the DEI initiatives, they come from that Democratic left-leaning, far left-leaning ideology that like I said, men are toxic, men are bad. Because they're bad, they've been bad. When they grow up and become adults and into the workforce and become managers and executives, they're still bad, and they discriminate. And and there's merit to that 50 years ago, right? So there was a reason for it to happen. I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened. Having the boss calling his secretary honey and baby, that's something you can't do that shit. So that obviously that had to stop, but as a consequence, it's we stepped on the gas pedal and they drove that feminine bus right through the wall, and out the other side is it's misandry. Essentially, it's reverse discrimination. So boys are bad. We're going to prop up girls. We're going to make sure girls have an easier time in school. We're going to make sure girls have an easier time getting into college, because they're going to have more scholarships available. They're going to have more programs. Young men see all this. They grow up in it. If they didn't know about it, they find out about it in their first year of college, and they go, hey, I don't have no scholarship to apply for. But I do see that if I was a woman, I'd have like these 10 to apply for. What the hell is that? That makes them feel like shit. It shouldn't be that way. So, and if you want to have women-only scholarships, then you need to have men-only scholarships. It's only fair. And then no one can say anything. No one can feel bad because you're not intentionally trying to hurt their feelings. Well, right now, that's what's happening. So that's why Republicans are a win-win on anti-DEI and anti-woke. For Democrats to focus on such a small percentage of the population, like less than 0.01%, or even less than that, we try to identify as trans or non-binary or not their born gender. Very small percentage, right? And even a very small percentage of those people are actually that, and not something else like mental illness or just being so comfortable in their existence they have the ability to turn themselves into whatever they want, transgender. So such a small percentage of the population, that's what you're going to focus all of your initiatives and your actions plans, and that's all you're going to talk about, and you're going to ignore ignore everybody else, or at least ignore half the population, or demonize half the population, you're gonna lose, man. And so you did. And those are big win-wins for Republicans. But the Epstein deal, boy. If you want to be the party of family creation, and you want to be the party of religion, Christianity, and then you also want to protect the billionaire class that has a predilection for touching underage girls and maybe even boys, you're gonna lose your vote. You're gonna lose your support from everybody else, because we can't support that, man. I'm not gonna support that. I am not gonna support you. I'm all about the truth and what's right, and standing up for that as a good Christian would. And you know, Trump's got to make it right with the Epstein files. If he's in there, he needs to make it right. And I don't know, man. If he's in there and he did those things, he can't make it right. And so it's just gonna forever be this game of, well, you're not getting what you want. Stop asking for it, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to distract you. Eventually, you'll stop asking. And all those distractions can be real chaotic in situations, you know. War, freaking, whatever it takes. And I don't like the sound of that. So I don't like the situation we're in. And so I think a lot of Republicans don't like it either. Good people. Good, you know. What I mean by that is people with conviction. And they say, you know what, I'm going to stand up for the truth. I'm not going to allow myself to be compromised for a dollar, for belief. I'm going to stand up for what's right. I'm going to defend the weak and the meager and the sick and the less fortunate. And the Republicans that lean towards those beliefs have said, no, we've got to, you know, America first. So the Epstein thing is a big problem for Trump, and then the Israel thing is a big problem for Trump. He's doubled down with Netanyahu on the continuation of the thing of what they're doing over there, and it ain't good. It don't look good, you know. Killing innocent civilians is never a good look, man. Never a good look. History is written by the victors, but you know, regardless, people are not going to forget. There's just too much connection with the internet and stuff nowadays. You just can't get away with crazy stuff on this kind of level. People will not forget. And you know, Trump said he was going to end the wars in Russia and Ukraine, and he said he was anti-war day one. You know, he talked about how confident he was that he could get this done. He hasn't got none of it done. That's bullshit. Pardon my language. That's bullcrap. You got to get it done. And so for him to double down on Israel has cost him some support, a lot of support in the Republican Party. You know, that's not America first, man. We're Americans. If we are assisting an ally in a way that doesn't benefit our country, directly benefit our country, and it's actually causing external grief and conflict with the rest of the world, we really have to take a look at whether or not we should be doing these things. If Israel is killing tens of thousands of innocent Palestinian women and children, starving them to death, and they all die, it's going to be remembered as Israel and America causing the mass death and slaughter and starvation and suffering of millions. You know, it's not just going to be Israel, it's going to be America too. So, is that in our interest? I think that has to stop. I know it has to stop. And Trump isn't doing enough to stop that. And that's making a lot of people unhappy. I'm unhappy about that. So there's a split in the Republican Party right now on those two issues. It's not on the family creation issue. It's not on religion issue. It's on an America First ideology with no constraints, like no questions, America First. And it's on the we're not going to support pedophiles, man. We cannot as a society be run by these kinds of people, because they're not people of conviction. They're people who have been they're people of depravity, and they have no control over themselves. They've allowed themselves to become something that humanity can't resemble. So that's the fracture, and we have to decide, what do we do from here? What do we do next? Because we've got real issues. We've got real huge financial problems that aren't getting addressed because inflation's getting worse. The dollar continues to decline in value. The money printing continues. The money supply continues to all-time high. So the expectation is for the next coming up years is in more inflation and more asset in value inflation, which means that only hurts the average American more, because wages aren't going up. What are we going to do about this? I'm asking the Republican Party, what are you going to do about this? And you must do something about Epstein, and you must do something about Israel. We have to be, if we're going to be Americans of conviction and be examples for the rest of the world, we have to stand up when called to task.